On Thanksgiving, my sister called me just lucky. Little did she comprehend I was her boss. The next day, her paycheck bounced and her career hit the wall. You guys are not going to believe this. My sister, Emily, stood up at Thanksgiving dinner and, in front of our entire family, called me lucky, mocking everything I'd worked my entire life for. What she didn't know, I was her boss and her career was about to crash right then, right there while she was still talking. Let me take you back a bit, because this wasn't some sudden explosion. This was years in the making. I'm 34, Emily's 30. We grew up in a typical, comfortable suburban home. Our parents, both accountants, preached hard work and education. Sounds good, right? Well, theory and practice are two very different things, especially when you compare Emily and me. I was the kid who hoarded birthday money, mowed lawns, and saved up for a better bike. Emily? Allowance gone the day she got it, then begging mom and dad for more. I devoured investment books in high school. She was deep into celebrity gossip. In college, I worked constantly, juggling jobs to pay my way. Emily, well, she focused on her social life and barely scraped by with a passing GPA. Look, I'm not saying I'm some saint. I just had different priorities. I craved financial security. I wanted to build something. Emily just wanted to have fun and figure out later. And you know what? That's fine, but it leads to wildly different paths. After graduation, I landed a job in renewable energy consulting. It sounds a little dry, I know, but it was actually fascinating. I helped companies switch to solar and wind, handling the financial analysis and project management. The industry was booming and I was good at it. Within 4 years, I was managing huge clients, pulling in a 6-figure salary. But there was a catch, a big one, the ceiling. You can only make someone else rich for so long before you realize you're just a highly paid cog. I watched my boss buy his 3rd vacation home while I got a 4% raise that barely kept up with inflation. I was generating millions for the company and getting a fraction of that value. The math just didn't work for me long term. So, at 27, I took a leap everyone in my family thought was completely insane. I quit my cushy corporate job to start my own renewable energy consulting firm. My old boss literally laughed when I gave notice. He guaranteed I'd be crawling back, begging for my old job within a year. He said the market was too competitive, I didn't have the contacts. Honestly, his dismissive attitude fueled me almost as much as my own ambition. That first year, brutal. 80-hour weeks were the norm. Ramen noodles became a food group. Sleep was a luxury I couldn't afford. Wondering if I'd made the biggest mistake of my life. I maxed out 2 credit cards just to keep the lights on and build my client base. There were nights I sat at my laptop at 2 a.m., utterly defeated, questioning everything. My parents, bless their hearts, were supportive but so worried. I'd show up to family dinners looking like a ghost, and I could see them doubting their own encouragement. My dad, trying to be kind, would say, "Son, there's no shame in going back to corporate if this doesn't work out." He meant well, but it felt like he was already writing my defeat speech. And Emily? Oh, Emily was ecstatic to predict my failure. She told anyone who would listen that I was a fool for giving up a steady paycheck. She swore I'd be back in corporate within 7 months. At family gatherings, she'd crack jokes about me applying for a job with her. You know, real supportive sister energy. Then, about 8 months in, I hit rock bottom. I had exactly $300 in my business account and a critical proposal due in 3 days. I hadn't paid myself in 4 months. Credit cards and dwindling savings were all I had. I was in my tiny, barely affordable apartment, on the verge of giving up. But then the proposal landed. A mid-sized manufacturing company looking to go solar. It wasn't a mega deal, about $85,000, but it was enough to keep me afloat. More importantly, they connected me to 4 other companies in their network. Those referrals turned into more referrals. Suddenly I had momentum. Spoiler alert, I didn't fail. By year 2, I'd secured 4 major contracts. By year 3, I was hiring staff and turning down work because we were at capacity. And today, 5 years later, I run a business with 25 employees, generating over $8 million in sales annually. Personally, I'm clearing over $420,000 after expenses and payroll. But you wouldn't know it to look at me. I still drive the same Honda Civic I bought used 5 years ago. I live in a nice but modest house. No fancy clothes, no flashy displays of wealth. I wanted to fly under the radar. The people who matter know what I've built. Everyone else can think whatever they want. Emily, on the other hand, had gone through 8 different jobs in 7 years. She studied communications in college. She chose it because it seemed easy. Graduated with a 2.8 GPA, no real plan. Since then, it's been retail, restaurants, an insurance office, a gym, a marketing company that fired her after 4 months, and a few others I can't even remember. She never lasted more than a year. There was always a reason. The job wasn't right, her boss was awful, she deserved more. Never her fault, of course. 2 years ago, Emily showed up at my house on a Tuesday night crying. She'd just been fired from her latest job for being late too often. She needed money for rent, or she'd be evicted. She swore this was her wake-up call, that she'd get her life together. I gave her the money. Not as a loan, I knew I'd never see it again, but because she was my sister and I couldn't let her be homeless. But I also told her, Emily, I can't keep bailing you out. You need to fix your life. She nodded, thanked me, promised she would. The very next week, she bought a new iPhone. Priorities, right? About 7 months later, she called. Hey, do you have any openings at your company? She was miserable at a retail job. She wanted more income, better perks. She wanted to work in an office, feel professional and important. This is probably where I should have just said no. Every rational bone in my body screamed, bad idea. Don't mix family and business. Don't hire someone with this kind of work history. But she's my sister, and my mom had been subtly hinting, wouldn't it be great if you could help Emily out? Emily even sounded genuinely ready to make a change. So, against my better judgment, I created a position for her. I wasn't stupid. I didn't give her anything critical. She became a client services coordinator. Fancy talk for someone who answers emails, schedules meetings, does basic admin, and organizes client contacts. It was an entry-level job, paid $45,000 a year, plus benefits, which was good money for the work, and honestly, more than she'd ever made. Before her first day, I sat her down and set crystal clear expectations. Show up on time, reply to emails within 24 hours, keep the client database updated, communicate professionally. Basic stuff. She nodded, said she understood, promised not to let me down. For the first month, she was great. Early, stayed late, eager to learn. I actually started to think, maybe I was wrong to doubt her? Maybe working for family would be the kick she needed. Then month 2 hit, and the cracks started showing. She began coming in late. 5, 10 minutes at first, which I tolerated. But then it was 15, then 30, then an hour. When I talked to her, it was always an excuse. Traffic was awful. My alarm didn't go off. I wasn't feeling well. Never her fault. Always some external, uncontrollable issue. Her work quality tanked, too. Emails went unanswered for days. Client meetings were scheduled at wrong times. The database became a jumbled mess of outdated info. Sophia, my office manager who's been with me since year 1 and never complains unless there's a serious problem, approached me 3 times in 1 month about Emily. One time, Emily scheduled a critical presentation with a potential client for 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. The client flew in from Nevada just for this meeting. At 1:45, the front desk called. The conference room wasn't set up, and Emily was nowhere to be found. She'd gone to lunch at noon and just vanished. No call, no text. I later found out she met friends and decided to hang out. She strolled in at 4 p.m. like nothing happened. I had to personally apologize and reschedule the client's flight. We eventually got the contract, but I had to absorb part of our expenses to compensate for the sheer unprofessionalism. That single incident cost me about $18,000 in missed income and nearly ruined a relationship with a client who could have given us years of business. When I asked Emily about it, she said she lost track of time and didn't think it was a big deal because I was there to manage the meeting anyway. She didn't think it was a big deal. A client flew across 3 states for a meeting she booked that she then bailed on, and she didn't think it was a big deal. Another time, she sent an email to a prospective client with so many typos and grammar errors. They called me to ask if we were a legitimate business. The email was a disaster. I had to explain that we were training a new employee and that it wasn't our usual standard. Emily had been there 4 months. This wasn't new employee error. This was just pure laziness. I pulled her aside for a serious talk, not as her brother, but as her supervisor. I told her the lateness had to stop. Her work quality had to improve. She immediately got defensive, said I was too harsh, that I didn't understand how demanding the job was. She even suggested Sophia was after her because she was jealous of Emily's status as the boss's sister. That last bit almost made me laugh. Sophia has zero reason to be jealous of anyone. She's my right hand, making $95,000 a year plus bonuses, and she owns actual stock in the company. But Emily needed someone to blame, and Sophia was an easy target. I issued her a formal written warning, documented everything, and told her if things didn't change in 30 days, we'd have to reevaluate her employment. She cried, promised to do better. Things improved for about 2 weeks, then slid right back. But the worst part wasn't even her terrible performance. It was her attitude in the office. She'd constantly complain about how hard she had to work, while taking hour-long lunch breaks and spending half the day on her phone. She complained about being underpaid, even though she was earning more than market rate for her experience. She'd make comments about how easy I had it as the owner, as if I just sat around counting money instead of working my tail off to keep everything afloat. My other employees started to notice. I heard whispers about Emily getting preferential treatment. And you know what? They were right. Any other employee with her track record would have been fired months ago. But I kept giving her chances because she was family. It was exactly what I'd feared before I hired her. The final straw came about 3 months ago, just before Thanksgiving. A huge client, a commercial real estate firm looking to convert 5 buildings with solar panels, a potential $2.5 million deal over 2 years, sent Emily some questions about our proposal timeline. Simple things, when we could start, payment plans if we could use their preferred vendors. Emily's job was to forward these queries to the right team members, gather responses, and craft a professional reply. Basic coordination. This was exactly why I hired her. She never responded. Nothing. The client called a week later, slightly irritated. Still no response from Emily. They followed up again, this time directly with me, and they were livid. They were ready to walk, take their $2.5 million project somewhere else. I only found out because they called me personally, which should never have happened. When I confronted Emily, she said she'd been preoccupied with other duties and forgot. Forgot about a $2.5 million client. Forgot to do the fundamental task I paid her $45,000 a year for. I spent 4 hours on the phone, personally smoothing things over, apologizing profusely, offering discounts to make up for the inconvenience. I barely saved the contract, but the damage to our reputation was done. They'd remember my company's lack of communication. I should have fired her right then. But Thanksgiving was 3 weeks away, and my mom kept asking if Emily and I were both coming to dinner. She was so thrilled we were working together, constantly telling me how happy she was I was helping my sister advance her career. I didn't have the heart to fire Emily right before the holidays and spoil my mom's Thanksgiving. So I decided to wait. I'd enjoy the holiday, then the next week I'd have a professional talk, offer a severance package, 2 months pay to ease her transition, and wish her well. Clean, professional, even kind. Then, Thanksgiving dinner happened. My entire family was there. Parents, Emily and her boyfriend David, aunts, uncles, cousins. A typical gathering. Mom had cooked a feast. Everyone was in great spirits, laughing, talking. After we'd eaten, we were all sitting around the table in that comfortable post-meal haze. Someone asked me about work, just making conversation. I gave my usual humble answer. Business is good. We had a successful year. Grateful for our clients and team. Just polite dinner talk. Then Emily decided to chime in. Yeah, well, he got lucky. That's all it is. The table went silent. I looked at her, thinking I'd misheard or she was joking. But she had this smug smile, like she was about to drop some profound truth bomb. What do you mean? My dad asked, confused. Emily leaned back, ready for her big moment. I mean, he acts like he's some brilliant businessman, but he just got lucky with timing. The renewable energy boom happened right when he started. He rode the wave. Anyone could have done what he did if they'd been in the right place at the right time. My uncle raised an eyebrow. My mom looked deeply uncomfortable. Emily's boyfriend, David, was nodding along like she was Einstein. I just watched her, waiting to see how much deeper she'd dig. She did not disappoint. Honestly, if you look at it objectively, he's not even that smart about business, she said, now fully in her stride, loving the attention. Like, his whole strategy is just undercutting competitors on price. That's not genius. That's basic. A trained monkey could do what he does. Emily, my mother started, but Emily waved her off. No, it's true. Everyone acts like he's this amazing success story, but it's literally just luck. Right time, right industry, right circumstances. He works hard, sure, but so do lots of people who aren't successful. The difference is he got lucky. She looked directly at me with that last sentence, daring me to argue. My cousins stared at their plates, squirming. My dad looked like he wanted to say something, but didn't know what. My aunt gave Emily the look you reserve for someone who's just insulted the host. But I didn't get angry. I didn't defend myself. I didn't argue. I just smiled and nodded. You might be right, I said gently. Luck definitely played a role. Emily seemed almost disappointed I didn't take the bait. She clearly wanted a fight, wanted me to get defensive so she could prove her point about me taking myself too seriously. Exactly, she said, feeling completely vindicated. People need to stop acting like he's special. He just got lucky. That's the truth. Well, my uncle interjected, trying to change the subject. Lucky or not, it's working out well for him. For now, Emily shot back. But luck runs out eventually. Then we'll see how successful he really is. My mother quickly suggested we move to the living room for pie. Everyone practically leaped at the chance to escape the awkwardness. As people started to stand up, I calmly pulled out my phone, pretending to check texts. I opened my company's HR management software. We use this awesome system that lets me manage payroll, benefits, scheduling all remotely. Super convenient for situations like this. I navigated to Emily's employee profile, clicked employment status, changed it from active to terminated, put today's date as the end date, and in the termination reason field I typed performance concerns and breach of business behavior policy. The app asked me to confirm. I clicked yes. It asked if I wanted to process any last payments or severance. I clicked no. She'd get her final pay for hours worked up to that day, but that was it. No severance package, no 2 months pay, nothing. The entire operation took maybe 90 seconds. By the time I walked into the living room to grab a slice of pumpkin pie, Emily was officially gone from my company. Her access to all our systems was automatically revoked. Her next direct deposit, due the following Friday, was cancelled. I sat down, enjoyed my pie, and listened to Emily continue to trash talk me. She moved on to criticizing my house, saying it was too modest for someone with my alleged income. Clearly, I was either lying about my earnings or too ignorant to spend money wisely. One or the other. I just nodded and ate my pie, I didn't say a word about what I'd just done. Why should I? She'd find out soon enough. The rest of Thanksgiving was lovely. Emily eventually moved on to other topics. We watched football. My dad fell asleep in his recliner. Totally normal holiday stuff. When Emily left that evening, she hugged Mom and Dad, said goodbye to everyone. She didn't even glance my way. I went home that night and had the best sleep I'd had in months. No remorse, no second-guessing. Just pure satisfaction that I had finally made the decision I should have made months ago. Friday morning, I was at the office early. Sophia was already there as always. I called her into my office. Emily's no longer with the company, I told her. Sophia's face was a mix of relief and apprehension. She asked if I was okay. I'm fine, I said. It was long overdue. We'll need to redistribute her tasks until we find a replacement. Sophia nodded. I'll handle it, she said. And for what it's worth, you made the right call. She wasn't a good fit here. I know, I admitted. I should have done it sooner. We sent out a quick email to the team that morning. Emily Turner is no longer with the firm, effective immediately. Her tasks have been reallocated. All client inquiries should be routed to Sophia for coordination until further notice. Professional to the point. Several employees stopped by my office throughout the day. Nobody asked what happened. They all knew. They'd been watching Emily coast for months while they did the actual work. A few even thanked me for finally addressing the issue. That stung a little, knowing my staff had been unhappy for so long because I let family loyalty cloud my judgment. Emily's direct deposit should have hit the following Friday. At 2 p.m., my phone started blowing up. Her first text, "Hey, my paycheck didn't deposit. Can you check with payroll?" I didn't reply. I was in a client meeting. Second text 10 minutes later. "Seriously, where's my paycheck? This is ridiculous." Third text 5 minutes later. "I need that money today. I have bills to pay. Fix this now." Then she called. I declined it. She called again. Declined again. Then my office phone rang. Sophia picked it up, listened for a minute, then came into my office. "Emily's on the line," Sophia said, clearly trying not to smile. "She's very upset about her paycheck." "Tell her to check her email," I replied. "She should have received a termination notification last week." Sophia went back to her desk. I heard her deliver the message. Then I heard Emily's voice, loud enough for me to make out words, even over Sophia's phone. Sophia mumbled something else, then hung up. "She says she never got any email," Sophia reported, "and she's demanding to speak with you. Did you verify the termination email was sent?" I asked. Sophia checked her computer. Sent Friday at 8 a.m. to her company email. Of course, she hadn't checked it. Emily treated checking her work email as optional. Another reason she was terrible at her job. "If she calls back," I told Sophia, "tell her to check her company email for all relevant information regarding her termination. And if she continues to harass our office line, we'll need to block her number." Emily called back 3 more times. Sophia calmly gave her the same message each time, and eventually blocked her number. Then Emily started messaging me directly, again. The texts got progressively more furious. "You fired me? Are you kidding me right now? You can't just fire me without warning. That's illegal. Mom is going to hear about this. Dad too. You're going to regret this. I can't believe you do this to your own sister. You're a terrible person. This is because I told the truth about you at Thanksgiving, isn't it? You're that petty. You owe me that paycheck. I worked for that money." I replied to just one text. "You received your final paycheck for all hours worked up to your termination date on November 25th. Any questions about your termination should be directed to HR." Then I silenced the conversation. She tried calling my personal phone. I didn't answer. She called my office directly. Sophia deflected her. She even showed up at my office on Monday morning. "But our building is secured," requires a key card. Security called me. Are you expecting an Emily Turner? No, I said. She no longer works here. Please ask her to leave. They did. The real fireworks started when she called my parents. My mom called me that Monday evening, just as I was leaving work. She sounded shaken. What's this about you firing Emily? She demanded. No, hello. No, how are you? Just straight to the accusation. It's true, I said, without even talking to her first, without any warning. She had multiple warnings, Mom. Written documentation, performance, improvement plans. I'd been trying to work with her for months. She chose not to improve. But she's your sister, my mother protested. And she was my employee, a bad employee. I gave her more chances than I would have given anyone else specifically because she's my sister. But I can't run a business on family sentiment. Mom was quiet for a moment. Then she said, Emily says you fired her because she said you got lucky at Thanksgiving. She thinks you're just being petty and vindictive. I chuckled. Mom, I fired her because she was bad at her job. She consistently showed up late, ignored client emails, created problems for my team, and cost me a major contract because she couldn't be bothered to do basic tasks. The Thanksgiving comment had nothing to do with it. She says you did it on your phone right there at dinner. I processed her termination on Thanksgiving, yes, but the decision was made weeks ago. I was planning to fire her that following Monday anyway. Her little speech just moved up the timeline. You should have talked to her first, given her another chance. I gave her 6 months of chances, Mom. How many more did you want me to give her? My mother sighed. She's really struggling now. She doesn't have a job. She's behind on rent. She needs help. Then she should have thought about that before she decided to coast at the one job where someone actually gave her a real opportunity. She's family, yes, but I'm not her personal ATM, I said, my voice sharper than I usually used with my mom. I helped her by giving her a good job with good pay. She threw that away. Those are the consequences of her own choices. My mother didn't like that response. She tried the guilt trip, saying Emily was my younger sister, and I should want to help her. I listened patiently, then told her I had to go. She wasn't happy, but she let me hang up. My father called the next day. He was even more direct. You need to give Emily her job back, he stated, no preamble. No, I don't, I replied. She's your sister. You can't just abandon her like this. I'm not abandoning her. I'm holding her accountable for her work performance. There's a difference. But she made one comment at Thanksgiving, and you ruined her life over it. Dad, I kept detailed records of every performance issue, every late arrival, every missed deadline, every client complaint. This has nothing to do with Thanksgiving, and everything to do with 6 months of documented poor performance. Ask her about the $2.5 million client. She almost lost us because she couldn't be bothered to respond to an email. My father went silent. What client? I laid out the whole story. Emily's ignored emails, my intervention, saving the deal, and how that was just one of many problems. She never mentioned that, my father said softly. Of course she didn't, I responded, because that would require her to take responsibility for her actions instead of blaming everyone else. My father was quiet for a long time. Then he said, Your mother is very upset about this. I'm sorry she's upset, Dad, but I made the right business decision. Emily was a liability to my company. I couldn't keep her on staff just because we share DNA. Family is supposed to support each other, he said. I did support her, Dad. I gave her a job she wasn't qualified for. I paid her more than market rate. I gave her chance after chance to improve. At some point, support becomes enabling. I'm not going to enable her to coast through life expecting other people to carry her. My father didn't say much to that. He just told me to think about what I was doing before hanging up. Emily tried many more times to get me to rehire her or at least offer severance. She sent me long, rambling texts about how unfair I was, how I'd never understood her, how everyone expected her to be like me, but she couldn't live up to it, how I was successful because I had advantages she didn't have. I didn't reply to any of it. There was nothing left to say. She had crafted a story where she was the victim and I was the villain, and nothing I said would change it. People believe what they want to believe. About 2 weeks after I fired her, my mother called again. She sounded utterly exhausted. I just want you to know that your father and I loaned Emily money for her rent. She says she's looking for a new job, but it's taking time. Okay, I said. We're disappointed in how you've handled this situation. That's your right, Mom. But I stand by my decision. She's your sister. You should have helped her. I did help her for 6 months. I helped her. She chose not to help herself. My mother sighed. I don't think you understand how hard things are for her right now. I understand perfectly well, I said. I also understand that she created this situation for herself. I'm sorry she's struggling, but those are natural consequences of her choices. You've become very hard, my mother observed gently. No, Mom, I corrected her. I've just learned that helping people who don't want to help themselves doesn't actually help them. It just enables them to keep making bad choices. We didn't talk for a while after that call. My parents were upset. Emily was telling anyone who would listen that I'd betrayed her. My aunt apparently thought I was too harsh. My uncle, though, quietly thought I'd done the right thing, but he wasn't about to say it publicly and face my mom's wrath. But you know what? My business ran better without Emily. Sophia hired a replacement within 4 weeks. A recent college grad named Rachel, who actually showed up on time, responded to emails and treated her job with respect. Client communication improved dramatically. My team's morale soared. Everything just worked better. About a month later, I got a text from Emily. It was different from her usual angry messages. I got a new job. Starts Monday. Just wanted you to know I'm fine. I texted back, glad to hear it. Good luck with the new position. She didn't reply. I didn't expect her to. That was probably our last direct communication for a long time, maybe forever. Some bridges just burn and stay burnt. My parents slowly started talking to me again, but things were still tense. Mom would call occasionally and we'd talk about trivial things. Dad sent me an article about a solar project he'd read about. Small attempts at normalcy, but the underlying tension remained. They'd made it clear they thought I was wrong. I made it clear I didn't care. Christmas was incredibly awkward. We gathered at my parents' house, as you do. Emily was there with David. We didn't speak directly. She spent the whole time glued to her phone or whispering with David. I hung out with my cousins and avoided the living room where she was stationed. At one point, my dad tried to force a conversation between us. Why don't you two talk and work this out? He asked, as if we were kids fighting over a toy. Emily just gave me this cold stare. I returned it with the same indifferent expression. Neither of us said a word. My dad eventually gave up and went back to watching football. Things got even more interesting shortly after New Year's. Emily apparently told David her whole twisted version of events. How I'd fired her out of jealousy and vindictiveness. How I couldn't handle her speaking the truth about my success. How I was a nasty person who abandoned my family. David, being the genius he is, decided to help Emily exact retribution. He created a fake Google review for my company. A 1-star review claiming we'd ripped his company off for $50,000 and never delivered. Said we were scammers, a phony enterprise. He even invented a fake business name to try and make it look legitimate. The problem with David's brilliant plan? I have Google alerts set up for my company's name. I saw the review within an hour. I also saw that the account that posted it was created that same day, and it only had 1 review. Not exactly a sophisticated operation. I took screenshots, documented everything, and reported it to Google as false. It was deleted within 48 hours. Then, I had my attorney send David a cease and desist letter for defamation and attempted harm to my company's reputation, threatening legal action if he continued. Emily called me 2 days later, screaming that I was going to sue her boyfriend. I gently reminded her that if her partner intended to commit actionable defamation, he should be prepared to face the consequences. Then I hung up. David seemed to back off after that. No more fake reviews or revenge attempts. Turns out, threatening people with serious legal penalties makes them reevaluate their life choices. In February, my mother called with some news. Emily was evicted from her apartment. She'd been staying with David, but their relationship had crumbled after the legal threat. She was now asking to move back in with my parents. My mother wondered if I would rethink hiring Emily again. I said no. She asked if I would at least lend Emily money for a deposit. I said no again. She said I was being unkind. I told her that Emily had squandered every chance, humiliated me publicly, and had her boyfriend try to damage my business. At what point, Mom, does Emily become accountable for her own situation? My mother didn't have an answer. Emily, at 28, moved back home. But March brought the most satisfying moment. Remember that important client Emily almost lost us, the one with the $2.5 million contract I barely saved? They came back with an expansion plan. They were so pleased with our work on their first 5 buildings. They asked us to manage another 12 properties. This deal was projected to be worth around $6 million over 3 years. During the contract signing meeting, the client's VP specifically praised our communication improvements over the past months. He notably appreciated our new client services coordinator for her responsiveness and professionalism. He said it was a 180-degree difference from their last encounter with us. I thanked him, subtly mentioning that we had made some staff adjustments to better serve our customers. He nodded approvingly and commented, "It showed." That single arrangement put us on track to hit over $13 million in revenue this year. We were growing faster than I'd ever anticipated. I hired 3 more people, including a second project manager to handle the increased workload. Business was absolutely thriving. My mother eventually told me Emily was back working at a department store, earning minimum wage plus commission. She was still living at home, still complaining about how unfair life was, and still blaming everyone but herself. My parents stopped asking me to help her. I think they finally realized that no amount of money or opportunity would fix Emily's core problem. She just didn't want to put in the work. In April, I got a LinkedIn message from someone who used to work with Emily. He said Emily was telling people she'd quit my firm because I was handling it unethically. She claimed she left on principle, not because she was fired. I posted a professional update on LinkedIn that week about our company's expansion and the importance of upholding high standards. I didn't mention Emily's name, but everyone familiar with the situation understood. After that post, 2 former coworkers reached out. Both said they'd heard Emily's stories and were relieved to see we were genuinely thriving. Her attempts to harm my reputation had completely backfired. People in the industry talk, and when they saw my company's real success, it just made her look bitter and untrustworthy. By summer, everything had settled into a new routine. My firm had 35 employees and an anticipated annual revenue of over $16 million. We moved into a much larger office. I finally awarded myself a raise and bought a newer car. Still a Honda, but a less beat-up one. My parents and I reached a peaceful détente. We talked about neutral topics. They'd stopped justifying Emily's actions, partly because they couldn't ignore the pattern anymore. My father actually apologized to me in June, said he understood why I made the decision I did. That meant more than he'll ever know. Emily was still living at home, bouncing between jobs. Last I heard, she'd been fired from the department store for being late too often. She'd moved on to working at a call center. My mother stopped providing me updates until I directly asked for them. In August, I saw David at a gas station. We made eye contact. He quickly looked away and dashed to his car. I just smiled and went about my day. Some fights are inevitable victories. The best part, though, happened in September. We received a significant industry award for innovative renewable energy consultancy. There was a ceremony, a trophy, trade journals covered the event. My team was ecstatic. Sophia cried happy tears. It was an incredible validation of everything we had built. The award ceremony was on a Thursday evening. The article was published Friday morning. By Friday afternoon, my phone was flooded with congratulatory messages from colleagues, old coworkers, and even some family members. My mother called that evening. She'd seen the article. She said she was proud of me. Then she said something that truly surprised me. Emily saw the article too. She didn't say anything, but I could see it on her face. I think she finally understands what she gave up. I didn't reply to that. There was nothing to say. Emily had made her decisions. I had made mine. The outcomes speak for themselves.